The constitution alteration is a special bill, and that is why the rules also make a separate provision for the alteration of the constitution. So the House could have gone ahead to adopt the report through a simple majority. But the House is confident that the alteration of the Constitution is mandated by the 360 constituencies. And in the clause-by-clause consideration, members voted, and every member voted to reflect the mandate of his constituency. So the leadership decided that this time around again, let's go extra mile. Let's impose an extra duty to see whether members are still committed to the mandate of their constituencies. And that is why it became necessary.
Meanwhile, consideration of the report was held up in the Senate as the required number of senators were not present to consider the report. The report is now to be considered on Tuesday next week. And the spokesman of the House of Representatives says the House has received the report of the National Conference and will soon consider the report. Speaking during the week, he said he believes most of the issues contained in the document are among those considered by the National Assembly during its review of the 1999 Constitution.
Everybody has gotten his receipt of it, every individual member. So I know that in the next few weeks, we definitely will look at it. Short of saying that by next week, but I've felt that we'll look at, we'll consider that I'm going through mine and a number of colleagues are through studying the report. So we'll look at it because just like I told somebody some time ago, that most of those issues have been in public domain, and there are issues that we even have considered in our in our constitutional review too. So a marriage of both will definitely give us better laws for good governance in Nigeria. I'm sure the whole report got to the executive, but I'm sure they will send a more compact form, especially if you look at the entire report. Some of them will just be ancillary to the main issues. They will just sift out the main issues, and because what we have is a compressed document that you can easily study and get back. So I'm sure that those are the issues that the government wants some highlights on. That's exactly what they have passed to us.
Now, even though the world's attention is on the Ebola virus disease right now, work is still being done to address the challenges being faced by people living with HIV AIDS. During the week, the lawmakers completed work on the bill seeking to prevent HIV AIDS discrimination. I had a chat with the sponsor of the bill on what this could mean to those battling with this disease.
I think this is a feeling of fulfillment in the sense that we've come a long way. The agitations are very strong in terms of prevention of HIV/AIDS, in terms of discrimination, in terms of also putting patients on treatment. And over the years, countries with burden of HIV/AIDS have been worried, whereas discrimination persists, whereas only few people in these countries that have the highest burden are on treatment. And we know that discrimination is a window to, increasing infections in this group of patients. And indeed, those who are not even retroviral disease positive. So from the 6th National Assembly to the 7th, this bill came on board, the 6th session. It got passed in the House, but in the Senate, the process was truncated because the National Assembly adjourned sine die at a time. And I brought this bill back again in the 7th session. And by the grace of God, it has gone through all the legislative processes. And we are set to send communications to Mr. President for his assent on this bill. So it's a sense of fulfillment to people living with HIV/AIDS, to Nigerians, and indeed for those who are interested in healthcare delivery system in Nigeria.
Okay, has this bill been, this report, has it been adopted in the Senate?
Yeah, the Senate has also passed this. They have also adopted. We met in conference, and that is the essence of this report. their views after third reading, ours in the House. We harmonized them, we agreed upon. So it is only legislative for you to come back to the House to look at the the harmonization by the two houses and then adopt. The Senate too has done her own.
They've adopted.
Yes, they've adopted. So
this
is the very last step.
Okay, when you talk about the bill, do we have much cases of discrimination in Nigeria?
Oh, so much so. A lot of them, again, the person who is discriminated is usually discriminated sometimes twice or thrice. Because he's discriminated upon, he wants to make a report. He cannot. Because upon his own informing the public, he gets discriminated upon again. So a lot of them just stay at the back door and die in silence. We have received a lot of petitions in this committee for people who are in the Nigerian police, who are in the military service, in different places of work. We have gotten petitions where people get admissions to some universities and they say, no, you can't come in because of your status. So this is a big, big window for them. Apart from discrimination, what we're doing is upholding the fundamental human rights of people who are ill, whether they're ill from malaria, HIV AIDS, or even Ebola viral disease, okay? The fact that you are ill from HIV AIDS does not mean you should be sentenced to death or kept behind bars. So I think this is a key factor. And then looking at it the other way, we are interested in reducing the seroprevalence of HIV AIDS in Nigeria and indeed the West African sub-region. So if we have a process of legislative backing framework that will stop discrimination, then we're a step ahead. What that means is that if you're HIV positive, you can come to parliament and be a legislator. Nobody will discriminate. You can go to the university. You can be a pastor. You can, you can play football. You can travel to America without being screened or discriminated. So this is very, very crucial to fighting this disease, to getting to zero infection from HIV/AIDS.
Okay, how will these rights be enforced? How will this bill be enforced?
Well, from this bill, it is the Minister of Justice, okay? Upon a report, the Minister of Health or the Minister of Justice will arrange such organization or individuals in the court of law. And then, of course, there are offenses, punishments for offenses, either paying of damages, to the tune of 500 to 2 million naira, or even imprisonment without option of fine for up to 1 year.
And it was a tale of mixed blessings for some other bills that came up during the week. While some were passed, others almost got canned. Let's bring you details of how the consideration happened. The sponsor of the bill for an act to enforce certain provisions of the United Nations Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination against Women put in forward points to support the bill. This is the consideration of the bill for passage through second reading on the floor of the House of Representatives. But this point of order was raised against the bill.
The bill, if passed, will not achieve anything. It will not add anything because the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 42, has already insulated not only women, not only men, but every Nigerian citizen from any form of discrimination. Honorable Speaker, if we even succeed in passing this bill into an act and it takes effect, it will expose women to detriment because at best, it will now limit their opportunities.
Despite spirited efforts by the majority leader and the deputy majority leader of the House of Representatives, the signs were looking gloomy for the bill. The Speaker, however, saved the situation.
Chairman of Rules and Business, you liaise with Honorable Abonta. Let us try to address those challenges and come back with this bill on Tuesday. Chairman of Rules and Business, that is my direction.
Afterwards, a lawmaker and a member of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women spoke on the development.
It needs mobilization, it needs lobbying. We have to also, put it in such a manner that we achieve the purpose. Because the Constitution has provided for equal opportunity for all. Constitution has provided that. But Nigeria entered into different domestication, protocols and all that. We need to ratify that as a nation because we signed into that. But having said that, it is very important that we address the issue of cultural barriers. I know what I'm talking about. I'm from the southeast, for instance. Some women are from the northern part of the country, some from the western part of the country. So we all have our peculiarities when it comes to issues that affect women to operate maximally, the same platform with the men. Like I come from the southeast where a woman cannot break kola nut. If you have 10 women after a younger boy, you see that when you're in any social gathering, they will ask the small boy to take kola nut. Even when they want to give you as a woman, they will ask the small boy to take the kola nut and hand over to the woman. So that has already made the guy to feel superior.
So I think it is a good way forward. But if you ask me personally, I would have said that my expectation today was that the Speaker or members would have allowed this bill to go to the committee stage. At that committee stage, the Rules and Business Committee will now be, will now assist in refining the bill. All I'm going to say, I'm going to make an appeal to the Speaker of the House. I'm going to make an appeal to the Senate President. I'm appealing to the members of the House and Senate, honorable members of the House and distinguished senators to please look inwards and understand that Nigeria has an obligation to domesticate the treaty that it has signed. Otherwise, in the Committee of Nations, Nigeria we need to prove that we are the giant of Africa.
Meanwhile, the bill for an act for the establishment of the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission passed third reading in the House. The sponsor of the bill said this is a landmark event.
We have the largest number of diasporans abroad from Africa, abroad from Nigeria, and a lot of them remitting, if I was at this year, $21 billion to the Nigerian economy. And you see, we have Nigerians excelling, succeeding everywhere in the world, developing other economies. So you need to integrate them into your own policy and development. This commission will come up with a diaspora policy and all that. So this commission will guide issues of diaspora, a one-stop agency to deal with diaspora matters. So the next stage now is to send the bill to the Senate that has been passed by the House and just hope and pray that the Senate will also concur with what the House has done. So really it's a bill that we need to have. It's a bill that is long overdue. It's a bill that will develop the enormous human resources scattered all over the world that are Nigerians. There's nowhere you go that Nigerians are not excelling. And you know the beauty of it. They want to contribute to their homeland. They remit money and all that, but beyond that, how do you integrate them into policies and all that? If countries have 25 ministries of diaspora and we have a commission, I think it is long overdue.
The bill will now be sent to the Senate for more legislative work. Well, there you have it, the decisions your legislators were able to reach on the different issues during the week. I'm glad you could join us today on the Gavel. See you next week. I'm Lanre Lasise. Cheers.